Hello, 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 everyone. I am Teresa from Teresa's Spot for Art, where I love sharing art from my heart and teaching you how to create a little joy in your life through some fun, simple, and quick art projects. Today, we're going to do a winter cardinal. So I'm going to turn you guys around and we are going to get started. I have my paint palette here, and we are going to start out with some kind of dark blue. This is a little bit royal blue. You can use any blue that you want or have on hand. So I'm going to put out some dark blue and then a little bit of white. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do. So you'll be notified every time I upload a new video or go live. And if you'd like the tracer for this design, because I have pre-traced my canvases like I usually do, you can get that link in the description. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to paint around my entire cardinal with this blue. I'm just going to make maybe like a 1-inch border around the whole thing with this dark blue. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how we're going to blend in some white and make a really cool textured background. Okay. So when I want to outline, I'm using my brush upright on the chisel edge here. It doesn't really matter what kind of brush you use or what size brush you use. You want to use a brush that is going to work for the surface that you're painting. This is an 11 by 14 canvas, and this right now is a 1-inch brush because you don't want to have a million brush lines. It's good to have a brush that comes together that you can get a nice chisel edge from. If you can't get a decent chisel edge from your brush, maybe it's time, and I have a problem with this, maybe it's time to get a new brush. Brushes don't have to be expensive, and Michael's is always having sales. If you want to paint over the branches, you can. It's up to you. But I'm going to continue around, turn them upside down, creating this kind of, it's going to almost look like a border or a halo of this dark blue around. And I want the back of the bird to be a little bit darker, or the background of the back of the bird to be a little bit darker. And then up here in the front of the bird background, does that make sense? To be a little bit lighter. So I have out the whole perimeter all around my bird painted. Okay. I have blue on my brush. I'm going to pick up a little bit of white. I'm going to come up in here. I'm going to start adding in a little bit of white up into this corner. Like I said, I want this area back here to be a little bit darker, and I want this area on this side to be a little bit lighter. I don't want to come too close to my bird, and I'm almost making like a figure 8 or X's with my brush. I'm doing my wrist in a figure 8, and I'm almost doing like X's. I don't want to get too close to my bird because I want the part around the bird to be dark. So down here and to the back, when I say back, I mean this part of my bird, I'm being a little bit darker with my blue. When I come up here, I'm going to want to add and have this side, have that blue on there, be a little bit more white. I'm not going to worry about that. So now I'm adding more white to my brush, and I'm blending in with the blue that's on my brush and the blue that's on my canvas already. When I pick up paint, now I'm just picking up blue. Now I'm just picking up white because I want this side of my canvas to be a little lighter. But I still want the perimeter around the bird to be darker. See how right around the bird is dark, But then as I work my way out here, I'm getting much lighter. I want to round this branch to be a little darker too, so I'm just going to add a little bit more dark paint in there. And do the same thing in here. If you want to paint your edges, you can. It's totally up to you. And now I'm going to go around the branches on the bottom. Blue, white, and then work it in a figure eight. Sometimes I paint the edges the same exact color as the front. Sometimes I paint my edges a totally different color. Sometimes I leave my edges. Depends on the project and the mood and how much time I have. A lot of variables go into that. So again, I'm picking up white and I'm mixing it with the blue that's on my canvas and the blue that's in my brush. I got a little bit of blue on my bird, but I'm not going to worry about that. That'll get totally covered when we paint him or her. Actually, this is a him. Aren't they the colorful ones? And then again, if you need to have it darker, because you added too much white, just go in there and pick up a little bit more blue, and you can make it darker. So now my background looks a little blustery. We want it to look a little blustery. Maybe it was snowing. We're going to add snow at the end. Okay? That's what we had. And I'm going to wash my brush. Right, now I'm going to put out a little bit of red and some orange. That off of there. Yuck. And the first thing we want to do, we want to mix some of our orange and red together because we want to make a lighter red. This one's clogged. We want our bird to have some contrast, so we're going to make a combination of lighter red and then some darker red for the wing. I'm going to stick with the same brush. I think I can manage with the same brush. Give it a nice dry. And I'm going to mix up in here our red and our orange. So I'm still having a red color. It's really a really, really dark orange or a paler red. Okay. And I'm going to start painting in and base coating in my Cardinal. I want to go around the wing. If you get some on the talons, it's okay. We're going to do all this up in here. And right now, this is just base coating. So we did the mohawk. We did a little bit of the cheek. We did the breast under here. And then we're going to do the tail. Okay. Then I'm going to pick a little bit of this blue. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to scoop up a little bit of the blue. And I'm going to come to this side of my red. And I'm going to mix in, and I want to get a deep red over here. So I'm mixing in, I'm almost getting like a burgundy, a purpley red, another red that's a bit darker than the red we started out with. And I'm just going to fill in the wing now. I think I'm going to make this a little bit more red. I think I added a tiny bit too much blue. There we go, that's better. And again, this is just the base coat. We have the details to add to it, so don't get too hung up in the shade of your red right now. I'm going to show you why it's not really going to matter. And then I'm going to do up in here a little bit along the back of the neck. Okay? And I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to go to my smaller brush while I have it out. I'm going to get some orange. And we're just going to base coat in the beak, because we want this stuff to dry while we work on the rest of our project. Okay? Next thing I'm going to do is put out a little bit of brown, and we're going to paint in our branches. Still using the same brush. I'm using it up on the chisel edge though, so I can get a nice straight line. I'm just going over the talons here, or his claws, whatever you want to call them, his feet. And then we'll fix it all when we come back in and paint in his black claws. I'm using my brush on the chisel edge, so I get a variety of brown. Brown tends to be a little translucent, but if you do little short strokes like this on the chisel edge, you'll naturally get some highs and some lows, and it'll give your branch a little bit of character. We're also going to come back and add a little bit of black and white to it as well. So I pick up some paint, and I'm doing these little strokes. And when I get to the end of the branch, it's almost like the branch gets a little bit pointy. We don't want to have it necessarily totally squared off. It's either pointy or jagged. Put out a little bit of black. And pick up a tiny bit of black on my brush, and I'm just going to add a little bit of black in here. A little bit, not too much. Again, chisel edge, and slightly adding a little bit of black just to give our branch a little bit more character. That is it. Okay? And I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to go back to our smaller brush. You might have a liner brush. You might have a small detail brush. You might have a small round brush. I'm going to move my paint over here. And I'm going to pick up some red, fresh red this time, not contaminated or mixed with any of the blue or the orange or anything. And I'm going to start making in some short strokes. These strokes are going to fill up the section, but they're not going to paint over. Excuse me. Sorry. They're not going to paint over all of our base coat. We're just adding in these little tiny strokes. They have a little bit of a curve to them because our bird's breast is curved. Each stroke is maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch. We want to see the base coat between it, between our brush strokes. And we want to have a nice bright red here, but we don't want to fully cover it up. up here in the cheek. I'm going to put some round feathers up in here, and then I'm going to pull a little bit out over the back part of the neck. Just, they're feathers. We don't want any harsh lines. Do the same thing up here. Little short strokes to his crown or his mohawk. There might be an actual name for this. There probably is. I don't know what it is. And then back here, you want these little red strokes to come out. His crown up here, his mohawk leather is a little feathered to the back. So you don't want this harsh line here. So I'm pulling out a little bit of red over that. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the back. These can go out a little bit. And then our wing. And our wing again is going to curve like the strokes on our belly. You can work from the top down, you can work from the in out, you can work from the out in, whatever you're comfortable doing. Again, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. I have hundreds of video tutorials on there and tracers available in the descriptions. Some of my paintings even have a supply list for you. And if you hit the subscribe button, you'll be notified every time I upload a new video or go live. Again, little tiny short strokes with either a detail brush or a liner brush or a small round brush. You want to see a lot of variety in there, and you can see how I have a lot of different colors going on there. And I'm going to do the same thing in the tail. Little tiny strokes. Some are heavier, some are lighter. And then at the bottom, I'm going to actually come outside the line a little bit and pull up. So again, we don't have a harsh line at the very bottom of the tail. Okay? I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to go into my black. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to now paint in the black for his face. I'm pulling in these little short lines, overlapping my red a little bit. I'm just filling in this whole section. I usually call it a mask. And I'm just filling in this whole section with black. And then I'm going to take a little tiny bit and add it in there for the beak. Okay? And I'm going to do the same thing now with the talons. If you can still see how they were drawn in, okay. If not, it's one in the middle, one to the front, and then one to the back, little scoops. And I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to go back to my larger brush, and now I'm going to use the back of my brush. I'm going to use the handle. I'm going to dip it in the paint, and I'm just going to start adding in some random dots for snow. You can add as many as you want. You can get a snowflake stencil if you want. You can leave this part out. Totally up to you. I use the back of the brush, and as I run out of paint, my dots automatically become different sizes because they get smaller as I run out of paint. Again, you can do as many or as few as you want. Totally up to you. Now I'm going to switch back to my smaller brush. And we're going to create some snow on the branches. And we want this snow to be a little thick. So I'm just coming in here and I'm tapping in some snow. We're making it look like snow fell. It's on the branch. And now it's laying there. It's accumulated a little bit. We want it nice and clean and fresh white. You can put as much or as little as you want. And I'm just using my smaller brush and I'm just tapping it in here. This mound I'm putting so our bird is behind, hanging off the branch. So this mound of snow I'm putting in front of the branch, on top of the branch and in front of the bird. It just kind of sets the bird back a little bit and it gives it more depth. It makes it look like our bird is actually in the background a little bit. Kind of tricks your eye. Again, you can put as much on here or as little on here for the snow as you want. And now I'm just going to start adding a little bit of highlights. Make sure you have some nice fresh white on your brush. I'm going to do the same thing with now this white that I did with the red. Tiny, tiny, tiny little strokes. You want to make sure that your bird is dry. If it's not dry, you might want to hit it with a blow dryer or wait, go get a beverage, take a bathroom break, whatever it is. And I'm just going to start adding in a little bit of highlight to the wing, to the breastplate, to the mask, to the tail. Tiny, 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 tiny little strokes. These are even tinier than when we were making the feather strokes. Little highlight on top of the nose. I'm trying not to put my arm in my paint. A little going up. A little down here on the tail feathers. A little bit back there. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of white on the talons so they just pop a little bit. And then I'm going to come up here. I want to get a really, really nice fine line on my brush. And I'm going to come back here and I'm just going to put like a little bit of a comma or an apostrophe. Then I'm going to take the back of my brush and I'm going to dip it right in there. And now we have our eye. And here is our winter cardinal. Let me turn you guys around. And here we go. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next time. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like the tracer, it is linked in the description below. Thank you, everyone.